In the final part of tonight's class, we begin discussing, based on all this, we can actually understand something that, if you think about it, really is hard to understand. How did Hillel, the elder, one of the greatest sages of all time, say, love your fellow Jew? That is Torah. The rest is commentary. How? Find out. Okay, so let's continue. V'zeh amar Hillel hazaken al kiyam mitzvahs. And this is why, now we're coming to a very famous concept recorded in the Talmud, that Hillel, the elder, said about fulfilling this commandment, Zehu kol haTorah kula. This is the entire Torah. Ve'edach perusha hichule. All the rest is commentary, right? This is a famous incident you probably all heard of or know vaguely, that there was a wannabe convert that came to one of the two greatest sages of that time, Shammai and Hillel, came to Shammai, said, can you teach me the entire Torah on one foot? He's like, get out of here. What are you talking about? When he came to Hillel, I was like, sure, this is it. This is the entire Torah. Loving another Jew like you love yourself is the whole Torah. All the rest is commentary. Now, it's a nice story. And of course, it's definitely saying it's very, very important to love other Jews. But what does he mean? If we strip away the story and we just actually say, this is a literal truth. He meant something. He meant it seriously, and he was one of the greatest sages we ever had. How did he sort of wash away Shabbos and kosher, laws of modesty, laws of gossip, laws of stealing? I mean, where does all that fit with? Yeah, that's all commentary. Yeah, Shabbos, that's a commentary on loving another Jew. Kosher is a commentary on loving another Jew. Honesty is a commentary on loving another Jew. How are they all commentaries on loving another Jew? What did he mean? So the Alter Rebbe said, this is what he means. Meaning, there's a very interesting thing the Alter Rebbe is saying. The Alter Rebbe is teaching us Hasidic thought sometime in the 1700s. Hillel the elder, we're talking almost 2,000 years before any of this Hasidic thought was revealed. But he saw it. He knew. He didn't need to read it in a Tanya. He didn't need to read it in a book of Kabbalah. He saw that truth. So his understanding of Torah is what we now, thousands of years later, are being taught. He was already there. So what did he understand? How could he say this is the entire Torah? Because basically, we're just going to begin this now, because towards the end of the class, and the longer a concept, I just want to conclude with this idea. Basically, the entire Torah consists of two drives, of sending the soul up, of bringing God down. That is the whole Torah. Every commandment, if it's Shabbos, if it's kosher, if it's don't lie and don't steal and don't kill, and it's all to send the godliness up, to bring God down. Every commandment is doing that. Every piece of Torah is doing that. That is the core goal. That is a core component of every single commandment, of every piece of Torah. So every mitzvah does that. True. But this commandment does it in the most superlative way. This commandment is the ultimate experience to send the godliness up and to bring the godliness down. Why? Because now that we understand the only road to really loving another Jew as yourself is by seeing soul. The Rebbe said otherwise, it's impossible. It's not like you'll have to work harder. No, he said, it's impossible. The only way to love another Jew as yourself is to prioritize soul. And if you don't prioritize soul, if you don't put soul in front of body, you can't do it. So every commandment sends godliness up, but this is the one where it's literally contingent on keeping the commandment. The only way to keep this commandment is to focus on soul. That's what this commandment is all about. It's the only way to do it. That's 50% of the goal of all Torah. The other 50% is bringing God down. Well, the only way God truly comes down is when Jews are one. That's it. That's the only way. Imagine that. Here you are, being so good and godly and holy, but there's conflicts. There's dissension. There's bad feeling. God says, I can't come down to those places. I need my kids to get along for me to come down and dwell among them. So therefore, Hillel is saying thousands of years before the Tanya was written, before Hasidus was revealed to the world, this is the Torah. Because through this commandment, and in a sense, exclusively through this commandment, you fulfill what Torah is all about. You send the godliness up, you bring the godliness down. That doesn't mean we don't keep Shabbos. That doesn't mean don't keep kosher. But all those other details are really on a foundation of this commandment. Because there we're really getting ourselves to prioritize soul, and we're really creating the opportunity for God to feel free to dwell among us. To be continued next week. Anyone have any questions or thoughts before we stop this? Okay, well, thank everyone for handling our little bit disjointed class tonight. Does anyone have something they would like to share? Something they experienced this week that they'd like to thank God for?
Okay, I'm eternally grateful that I keep putting one foot in front of the other and taking a breath since I got locked out of our family home on the 2nd of March, which was Rosh Chodesh Adar 1. So, and I just seem to have challenges along the way, and I'm really grateful that I keep putting one foot in front of the other and breathing.
I totally relate. I think we can all relate to sometimes being grateful that we put one foot in front of the other. I totally hear you. Anyone else?
Thank you for the floor.
Anyone
and
else?
Thank you for the class. It was a great class.
Thank you, Figachaya. Anyone else? Okay, I'll also chime in that I'm very grateful that Mr. Bonin was God's good emissary to fix my computer enough that it did function tonight. I was like a little, I do have a class and I would like it to be on my computer. So let's make some miracles happen. And they did. And he was God's good emissary. I always tell people, like, like people on the phone when you're like, Amazon or the airline, or you need something to happen. I say, listen, all good comes from God, but God does good through good people. So thank you for being God's good emissary for that good. So thank you, God, for my computer working enough that, thank God, we were able to have. So doing a little bit from what the Rebbe said in 1991, actually, of this week, what the Rebbe said in 1991, that the most timely thing is redemption. That's like living with the current event. That's the current times is the redemption. And especially as we've said many, many times, the Rebbe said, and the Rebbe did say this many times recently, that since we await for his coming every day, and the Rebbe says, when we say that, we don't mean every day I wait that someday he's coming. Every day I await that he's coming today. And according to all the signs, this one, Mashiach, is coming. So therefore, it's the only thing, it's the one thing on our thoughts and on our speech. Maybe it's the one and only thing on the Rebbe's thoughts and the Rebbe's speech, but he's generously assuming we're all in the same position. It's the one thing on our mind. It's the one thing in our speech. All we're thinking about and talking about is redemption. And we're looking, whatever situation we're in, we're looking, how do we connect this situation with redemption? As of course the Rebbe does every single time he talks to us, whatever the situation is, he manages to always connect it to redemption. And we're also always thinking about one thing: how do we make it happen? So I think the Rebbe is modeling for us what our mind and speech is supposed to be on, what our focus is supposed to be. It's happening, and how do we make it happen more quickly? Thank you so much for joining. We should have a wonderful week of making it happen and making it happen more quickly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so